So hello and welcome to the Insight Meditation Center's YouTube meditation session. I'm very happy to sit here with all of you who are participating. So this is the 25th of the 25 sessions, Introduction to Meditation sessions. And mindfulness has a lot to do with noticing what is happening. And with that kind of emphasis, it's easy to overlook that one of the things that is happening is the absence of things. Things disappear and they're no longer there. Suffering disappears and is no longer there. And the absence is significant. Absence allows for silence. Absence allows for stillness. Absence allows for spaciousness. And sometimes when we practice mindfulness, what stands out as the predominant experience, or what stands out as a significant thing to take in, let register, are these absences. The absences of suffering, the absence of tension. And in that absence, there's a kind of nourishment, some goodness there sometimes that you want to take in. That if we go on to the next happening thing, we don't take time to register and receive the benefits of those absences. The absence of noise is silence. The absence of agitation is stillness. The absence of contraction is spaciousness. And these qualities can always be present to some degree, in some ways. And certainly searching for them or trying to make them happen is not helpful. But sometimes they support mindfulness. As we're paying attention to suffering, as we're paying attention to agitation, as we're paying attention to ways where the mind is tight and contracted, there can also be a connection to silence. In the noise, there's also silence. Important part of music is the silence between the notes. In the agitation, there can be stillness. Probably wouldn't know you were agitated unless there was some reference to stillness. Maybe a subconscious one. And the absence of contraction. Just beyond the edges of the contraction, the edges of the tightness, tension, just beyond the edges of our thoughts, there is space. So with that as a introduction, maybe during this sitting, you can, from time to time, notice if any of these qualities of silence, stillness, and space is there for you. Maybe at the end of every exhale. Maybe if you let your thoughts drift off away, let go of your thoughts. Maybe there at the end of the sentence that you're saying, end of the image. Some of these three qualities are there. Maybe mindfulness itself. Mindfulness in the middle of everything. The mindfulness, the awareness itself has these qualities. Maybe in the middle of awareness, there is silence, stillness, spaciousness, and that it makes a world of difference to be aware, centered on those qualities, than it would be for the awareness to be also noisy, agitated, contracted. So we'll sit in silence and allow you to be your own teacher. Give yourself your own guidance for sitting here for these next 20 or so minutes. And as we near the end of this sitting, finding where in your body do you feel softness, a soft sense of being. Maybe there's softness associated with breathing. Maybe with the belly. Maybe some places on the edge of your body, along the skin, the arms, the chest. And is there any softness in the mind? Maybe it's easy to find tightness and contraction, agitation, but is there also softness in the mind? Maybe the softness that is on the edges of the mind, touching the space and the silence beyond the mind. Maybe a softness in the heart. And if the heart is not so soft, maybe at the center of the heart, inside of the tightness or protectiveness, there's a place, a spot of softness. And in whatever softness you have associated with it, maybe, might there also be some sense of silence? The space of the mind that tends to be filled with words and images now has more silence in it than before. A stillness in the body. A softness associated with spaciousness. Feeling and sensing within, with outside of you, the edges between you and the outer world, where there might be stillness, silence, spaciousness that can hold all things, that is soft. And in that stillness and softness, silence, can you feel a selflessness? Freedom from self-concern. And staying centered in all of this, Bring to mind the world of people and events, activities you'll be involved in today or tomorrow. Gaze upon it with stillness and quiet. And bring forth whatever well-wishing, goodwill, love, kindness, care you might have for others. And let that be supported by the softness, the stillness, and wish everyone well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And may the way that you remain soft and peaceful be a means by which you support this to happen. May all beings be happy. Thank you. So I just posted in the chat the link for our community meeting in 15 minutes or so. And you'll probably have to copy it and paste it into your browser or into Zoom. And the link is also in IMC's homepage. In bottom right-hand corner, there's a section called What's New, and you will find it there also. And I don't think you'll need the password with how the link is set up, but if you do need a password, the password is metta. And it'll take me a couple of minutes to log on myself. So if some of you could do before 7:45, just wait for me. So hello, and as I start this last talk on the Introduction to Mindfulness Meditation, and considering that this is the last of 25, I'd like to say that I plan to continue with this kind of series starting next week, and maybe we'll call this Intermediate Mindfulness or Introduction to Mindfulness Part 2. But I think that there's much more to say that kind of builds on what we've done so far, and all at the heart of mindfulness practice. And for today, in a sense, maybe it's poignant at the very end, and also in the end where this coming to a conclusion, that all things must end, that all things come to a time when they are not there, except saved on the internet, but all things are not there, and that what follows that, the end of things, is an absence. And that absence, of course, can lead us to loneliness and sadness and grief, all kinds of things when the things come to an end and we miss them or we love them. And there's also something very poignant in absence that we can find sometimes in this practice. Maybe it depends on what the absence is, but one of the key absences we're looking for in the Dharma is the absence of suffering. And when that absence is there, then if that absence is there, then that is sweet, or that is freeing. That's very nourishing to feel our existence without suffering is part of it. And so one of the things that we want to be attuned to when we do mindfulness and recognize is, in fact, absence. There's a very strong instruction in mindfulness practice to pay attention to what is happening. But what is happening is certainly central to this enterprise. But what we really want to look at is, not really, but we want to also include when some things are no longer there. So if we're caught up in distracted thinking and it just goes on, and then when it's absent, when it stops finally, don't go on to the next happening. Take time to register, oh, that feels good. How it's good, that absence of thinking. If you're filled with anger and the anger dissipates and disappears, take time to register the goodness of that absence, what's available, what it feels like to have that absence. And absence doesn't make for a very sharp object of attention. It's more amorphous or diffuse, or it's almost bordering on imagination. We remember in our imagination or memory that something was there, not here now. There's tension in our bodies that we carry. And that if the tension, the tightness in the body dissolves, there's the absence of that tension. And how does the body feel then without it? So as we sit and meditate for being mindful of what is, part of what is absence. And some of the qualities of absence that can stand out, sometimes really loud in a sense, really strongly, is an absence that is it's this marvelous sense of silence in the mind. The mind is not thinking so much or thinking at all. A marvelous sense of stillness. I love the image of a very still, quiet morning lake before the sun rises, and all the animals and birds are quiet and no wind, and it's just so peaceful and still. Sometimes you can feel that inside. And sometimes there's the absence of claustrophobic objects, all this stuff happening and sensations and this and that. And there's a sense of spaciousness and awareness. And a lot of thinking makes the mind claustrophobic, maybe. But the spacious mind has lots of room. And the nourishing part of stillness, silence, and spaciousness I associated with when there's softness as part of it, or diffusiveness as part of it, where there's not a lot of constructs of self, and where even self-centeredness, self-concern drops away. There's kind of a selfless quality in it. And this absence of self-concern, absence of self-referencing, absence of selfing, constructing a self, being a self, measuring everything according to the self. A kind of feeling of experience of absence of self, even, is also soft and wonderful and peaceful. And absence has a quality of freedom in it. And this absence can be all these wonderful absences can be experienced in mindfulness itself. When mindfulness is just kind of a clear awareness of what is, in that clear awareness, almost like the clarity itself, you can see is the clarity is absence of smudges, absence of obstacles to see. And in that clarity then there's absence of noise, absence of agitation, absence of contraction. In the clarity of mind, that is mindfulness, when mindfulness is really strong and centered, it's characterized by these absences which are almost synonymous with freedom, a sense of clear independence, where mindfulness knows what's happening, but in knowing it is independent of what is happening. Not entangled, not caught, not reactive. And that absence of being caught, the absence of being entangled, the freedom of suffering that's there, this is one of the great experiences that mindfulness can bring. And what's wonderful about this is that this kind of freedom, this kind of experience, in a certain way is portable. You can bring it with you into the world. And when the experience of freedom is strong enough, then you probably always have a reference point. Maybe it's we're too busy sometimes to notice it, but just to be able to turn towards it and say, there's that freedom, there's that refuge of stillness, spaciousness, silence, softness, this refuge of freedom, right there, here it's with me. And then mindfulness becomes a wonderful nourishment that promotes greater and greater freedom. So thank you for being part of this 25 session Introduction to Mindfulness, and I hope this has supported you. Some of you have probably been practitioners for a long time, and maybe either some of you are more beginners and some of you are experienced beginners. Either way, I hope that the introductory instructions is useful for everyone. So thank you. And I saw that I put I'll do it again here with the chat for our community meeting, the link, and somehow I see that it appeared, but and I saw other people put links to it. So if you scroll up, hopefully you can see it. And but if you don't not connected to the chat for YouTube, you'll find the link on the IMC homepage. On the bottom right, there's a section called What's New, and there it says YouTube community meeting. And if you click on that, you'll see the link there. And I'll be there in just a couple of minutes now. And for those of you who don't want to go or don't know how to find your way to the YouTube, to the Zoom, we'll remain here broadcasting on YouTube. So you can just continue. And if we do a breakout group for the Zoom people, then I'll just stay here and maybe I can chat with a few of you that are here on YouTube. So thank you very much. So it looks like it worked, and pretty easily. So I see some of you found it. And can you do a thumbs up that you can hear me? Great. So let me check here a little bit more on things. Great. So I think that I still on YouTube. So I think we're set for that. Yep, we're still on YouTube. And so for those of you staying, then very nice. And I'll try to switch back and forth on my screen between the two. And but now I will go to Zoom again. There we go. Okay. So wonderful to see you. And so maybe people are still coming. And so I'll start by saying how grateful I am for all of you who come to YouTube. It's been a wonderful thing to be able to offer these kinds of teachings, and it was my, when I first decided to dedicate my life to Buddhist practice, and which was now, over 40 years ago. The image I had for myself was that I was going to be a Zen priest, a Zen monk, and I'd have the key to a small storefront meditation center in some city, and that pretty much was just like a room. I had the key, and I'd keep it clean, the place, and I'd go early in the morning and open up the door and sit and meditate with whoever came to support their meditation. And so this idea of getting up in the morning and sitting with people was something that's always been in my mind as a central part of what my life was going to be about. And I do that on retreats. Certainly I'm very happy I get up for the first sitting, and I love doing it. But here, since we started this YouTube in California at 7 a.m., I just delight at the chance to get up in the morning, get ready, have breakfast, and then come down here and be able to sit with people. And it's not quite a storefront we have here, but I don't know exactly what this YouTube space is, but it's very, very satisfying, and I'm happy to be part of this and to do this. And the idea, can't imagine that we'll stop doing this YouTube now. When I go away to do something, then we have these wonderful teachers who come and teach for me, and I can imagine someday in the future that maybe there'll be a transition where I teach less and some of those teachers teach more. But for the time being, I have no plans to do things differently as we're doing it now. And then, I do have some concern for how to continue to support those of you who primary connection is through YouTube this way. And some of you might find it very interesting to, some of you already do, is that with the pandemic, we've started to offer retreats, day-long retreats and longer retreats on Zoom. And some of them are called hybrid, where participants are in person at our retreat center, and then there's lots of people who can do it. More people can do it online on Zoom than can do it in person. And it's not uncommon for us to have retreats with 100 people on Zoom and 40 people at the retreat center, which is the maximum we can hold. And then we have day-longs as well on Zoom that through IRC. I think I'm doing one maybe in a couple of weeks, in a week or so. So anyway, so wanting to support you in some ways, and so hopefully we do some of them. And I know that Matthew Brensiller also wants to have something, offer something for us on YouTube and I need to be in conversation with him and how he wants to maybe add an additional thing weekly, which I think would be quite wonderful. Many of you know him and find him wonderful, and and of course, many of you know that Nikki Mergafori and now Liz Powell and some others are also offering happy hour sometimes on YouTube. So there's more and more available as we go along here. So do you guys have any questions you'd like to ask, maybe from this Enter the Meditation series, or from anything at all that's somehow related to what we're doing here? And it would be best if you can raise your Zoom hand, which means that if you don't know how this is, in the bottom screen of your screen, there's a menu in there. It should say reactions, and now's finally a chance you're allowed to have a reaction, and push a button, and then I'll see your hand and can call on you. So I see Padma. Let's see. Wait just a second. I see Padma. Oh, let's see. Oh, hang on a minute. I have to change some things here. I have to go find the YouTube and make it silent somehow. Okay, so YouTube is now silent. You see, I turn off the sound on my laptop when I do this, and so then I forget to turn it on. And when I do, it's confusing. So now I think I'm ready. Let's try again, Padma.
Okay, can you hear?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Gil. Thank you. Thank you for all your services, and I'm grateful that IMC came into my life like 7 years ago, and it's been nothing but blissful. Couple of questions. So, I attended all these 25 sessions, even though I've been practicing for a while. I'm still a beginner. I do notice it, and it's really nice when I notice that how the mind is going. But my question is that isn't the noticing part still the mind? That's question number one. Question number two is completely different, which is, I had this thought for a while. I think I talked to a couple of teachers too. It's like, I wish IMC has this community living. I want to just live and breathe in the community. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's like more like going into the monastery style, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah.
I think it would be such a great thing to have it in California. And I'm sure I'd love to contribute in any way I can.
Thank you. Very, very good questions. So the first one, let me see if I can repeat it. We're practicing mindfulness of everything, mindfulness of the mind, but the mindfulness itself, the noting itself, is the mind. And so you're a little confused about that, like how can the mind know itself, or you're kind of stuck in the mind, you can't get out of it.
It's not like I'm stuck. It is nice. I do get that moments of the just, whatever you call the quietness, stillness, and I don't even feel my body, and it's beautiful. It's just like a floating sense. And then slowly I'm like, is it still my mind? But I'm not stuck there, Yeah. I'm just going through the waves still, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's nice. Yeah, so I don't think you should worry about it. In a certain kind of way, everything is mind. Sometimes it seems like we're surfacing to make a note, to recognize what's going on. And so you recognize, I feel like I'm surfacing, and then you make the note maybe, or don't make a note. And sometimes you can start feeling yourself surface as the intention to note, come up with a thought arises. And then you say, no, thank you. And then you settle back in again. And just be relaxed about it all, because it's the rhythm of maybe coming up and having a note, and then not being ruffled by it, and then you settle again. And there are times when there's no need to make any note. There's no need for to have this active recognition, But that's mostly when things are very, very quiet and still and empty. And but it'll come in and come out, and your job is just to be at ease with whatever happens at that point. And so, and part of that ease is at this point, no need to figure it out, because that's a more agitated mind that's figuring it out. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So then with the this retirement kind of retirement community or IMC kind of place where people can live together, that would be lovely to have. And sometimes I've thought it would be nice to. There's an apartment building next door here, and I don't know how many units it has, maybe 10 units or something. I thought, wow, if we or someone could buy it, we could have a community of people living right next door, and that would be nice. And people are complicated, so it'll have its other aspects. And then the other is many people have asked for is in fact a kind of a retirement community, and the San Francisco Zen Center has just opened one that took 15 years of or maybe to planning, at least 10 years of planning, and no, maybe almost 20 years. They didn't know what they were doing, so one person with the vice president at a certain time, with not a lot of support from the community, thought we have to do this, and researched and planned and created the connections to make it happen, and they failed and they started again, and then it worked. And now I think it has 200 units, and people are now moving in, and some of the people I've talked to who moved in there love it up there. It's a kind of a Buddhist retirement community, and it's actually a Buddhist Quaker. They're kind of a partnership with the Quakers, which is kind of special. And so what I've seen from San Francisco Zen Center, there's a model in this country for how to create retirement communities that's supported by some of the churches. Some of the big denominations have these nonprofit wings. This is what they do: is they create retirement communities, and the Quakers have a preeminent one. They're really high quality and caring kind of way of doing it, and so there's a way of doing it and partnering with people who are in the business of it. But it's a lot of work. Maybe if one person put their whole full-time task to it, it could probably be done. But I can't, I would love to see it happen for us, but I don't see the volunteer who's going to step forward to make it happen, unless you want to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I see a hand. I'm looking in the wrong place, and for that I have to put on my glasses. Mary Lou.
Well, thank you, Gil. These weeks have been so helpful, and I'm glad we're going to go deeper in the coming weeks. My question today is about, earlier this week you were discussing the aperture of mindfulness, moving close or moving far away. And lately I've had some worry, anxiety, concern for another being, and there's not much I can do really about the situation. And I have just had waves of emotion on the cushion and off the cushion. And of course, when it happens on the cushion, there's a part of me that's like, no, I want to be settling and following the guidance, but I can't. There is no way. It feels like I can step further away. So then I just follow what I believe is the instruction, that if something's predominant, you stay there. And it ebbs and flows, comes and goes. But I guess so my question is there a skillful way, or should I or could I be learning to step further away when something like that happens?
Uh-huh.
And what does widening an aperture, even about maybe something not as emotional, how does that work? How does it look to step further away?
Great, a wonderful question. So it stood out for me that when you talked about, you're talking about how to be mindful with it, how to be, and there's other practices to do, like equanimity, that might be helpful sometimes. But let's just stay with the mindfulness for now. And it struck me that you talked about it being waves, you talked about it ebbs and flows. So so there's some freedom in you to be able to just let it pass through, and kind of be there and know that it's passing through, as opposed to getting locked into it. So you're already in a good spot. One of the things that might be helpful because of how you're practicing with it is to kind of just accept that, oh, this is the human condition. People have had this kind of feelings, this kind of loss, this kind of concern for people for millennia. This is the human condition. And not to dismiss it or belittle it, but to kind of allow yourself to accept your humanity. And this is how life is hard. Life has this part as part of it. And in some sense, of course, we want to have this capacity to feel sadness and concern, because we love, and this is part of love. Then, with that kind of acceptance, then very carefully and maybe lovingly, just allow it to be there. Allow it just be and move through you, but pay attention to it until maybe you start seeing, oh, look at that. There's resistance there. Look at that. I'm holding on to something there. Or look at that. There's I'm thinking of myself as the victim of all this. And so and so you want to see where the extra is. What are you doing that's extra? Without disrespecting the basic feeling, because it might be, it's not very normal what you're experiencing. But slowly tease apart what's extra, where the attachments are, or the clinging is, or something. Or maybe you assign meaning to it, and this assigning a meaning is, after a while, so that's extra. Let me just be more simple with it. And that clarity then might help you to do what you're asking to do, to step away from it. Which is, and one way to do that, more specifically, is to use mental noting. So, I don't know exactly what it is, but let's call it waves for now, just generic. There's a wave. And then you can just recognize it as wave, but pay attention to the tone of voice in which you're saying it with. Because the way that you're relating to it, you're involved with it, might be contained in the voice. You might be saying, you might be a little bit afraid of it. And so, oh, wave coming, oh, wave, And you can hear that in the voice, or it's anger, or confusion or something. And see if you can find a place to use the mental note that's free of that reactivity. And that might create the distance you're looking for, the bigger aperture you're looking for. Then it might be easier to, oh, okay, now I have this bigger point of view to hold it in.
Yes. Thank you.
So, thank you. So then, is it Zoo? How do you pronounce your name? Zoo. Okay, you're still muted. Maybe I can help you with that.
There we go. Got it.
Great.
Okay. So my question is about my posture. I was unable to sit for a very long time, so I started lying down with my back on the floor and my legs on a chair. And I've been doing that for maybe 2 or 3 years. And finally, the injury has resolved itself and I can actually sit again. And I find that I actually get much deeper lying down and much more relaxed and much more able to stop. The mind is much, much calmer. So now that I sit, the meditation does not go as deep, and I'm wondering about that. Whether if it's okay to be lying down, or whether I should try sitting again. If you have an opinion about that, would be great.
Great. Well, certainly it's fine to continue the way you were if that worked well for you, and you're learning something very significant from that deep piece that you have there. At some point, I hope that you become interested in how to carry some of what you're experiencing in meditation into your daily life. The mind that's in meditation and the mind that's outside meditation is the same mind. It's your mind. And so, there's no, to limit that possibility of that peace you have in meditation and not the rest of your life is unfortunate. Why not, have it be continuous? And so a big part of mindfulness practice at some point is practicing in daily life and bringing this into daily life. So one possibility is that sitting in the upright meditation posture is the intermediary that'll help you bring it into daily life. So you can do one of two things. You can continue with lying on the floor the way you have been for your primary meditation. And then when that finishes, if you have time, stretch your legs, do something that prepares you, and then go back and sit in upright position. But you have the momentum, you have the residue of the earlier meditation that you get to kind of bring that deeper peace there into that posture because you already prepared yourself. And then you get to explore what it's like there. With the idea is at some point you're going to explore what it's like to start bringing some quality of it, some characteristic of it into your daily life. So that's one thing you can do. The other you can do is just say, well, I've done now a few years of this floor thing, and that was meditation with training wheels. And now I want to take off the training wheels and just jump right into sitting upright. And it's going to take a while to get to the same place. But that's you take off the training wheels, you're a little wobbly on the bike. So you're a little bit wobbly sitting upright, and it'll take a while. You're so fortunate to have had this reference point, this possibility, and now you're going to learn it upright. And what you learn there will be a great foundation for taking it into life. So those are the two things I suggest.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Great. Thank you. Captain, hi.
Hi, Gil. Thanks so much for all these teachings today. The softness, I think, at the end especially was really helpful. And it's kind of related to my question, which is, I notice when I'm, not today maybe, but there's been other days where you've talked about resting your eyes in their sockets and also like relaxing the belly. And I find both of those very challenging, especially when sitting upright for my belly. I can't quite figure out how to relax it sometimes. And then I think I create stories around it that I'm trying to relax. But I also can't figure out how to get my eyes. It feels like they're just constantly looking. And I wondered just if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah. So with the eyes often, most of the time, will be gently moving in the sockets, just kind of floating in there. So if that's what's doing, just be relaxed, that's fine. But if you're actively kind of more looking, like every time if your left knee hurts and you can see your eyes kind of like go and almost, your eyes are closed, but you're kind of looking in that direction, then you're too involved. And so the first line of how to practice with that is be content just knowing that's the case. It's just one more thing to be mindful of. Oh, look there, I'm doing my thing again. Just that's how it feels. This is how it is now. And there's something very profound about being relaxed about anything that's going on, including something you think shouldn't be happening. Drop this shouldn't be happening. Just, okay, this is how it is. I'm just supposed to be mindful of how things is, and this is how it is. And that kind of, that acceptance, that kind of clarity, and then really seeing it, that itself over time begins to relax those things. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is to spend some time actively relaxing the eyes, at least, feeling where the tension is. Maybe spend 5 minutes at some point during the sitting doing a scanning of the eye scan. And just scan all around the eyes, the inside. Where's the tension? Where's the holding? What does it feel like to be looking this way? Am my eyes a little bit popping out of their sockets? Are they like I'm reaching out into the world to grab something? Or is there some emotion that's connected to there? Oh, look, some people, their eyes are a manifestation of anxiety. So, there's a little bit of apprehension there. That's interesting. So then it becomes apprehension meditation. Leave the eyes alone and just connect to the anxiety that might be there. So those are some things you can do. And I don't know if that resonated with you with the eyes. With the belly, it might have something to do with the posture you're sitting in. So you might see if there's another posture that's more upright, or I don't know if you use a backrest or not in chair, but maybe to sit away, sit in such a way that there's a little curve in the lower back, so that at least in principle, gravity will pull your belly forward. And but I carried a lot of tension in my belly when I started meditating, and it was surprised to me how much. And I would relax it. I could do that, and it would last for half a second. And so I didn't make it like a constant project, but after a while it just became an ordinary, everyday kind of thing in meditation that 3, 4, 5 times in the course of 40-minute meditation, I'd relax my belly. And then I didn't worry or wasn't concerned that half a second later it got tight again. It was just, okay, this is how it is. And then after some years of doing that, the belly started to stay more and more relaxed. Now, I don't know if you have the patience for years, but I didn't mind because I wasn't really trying to. I didn't have an idea that it should be different. And that was kind of a saving grace for me. I just, okay, I'm tense, I'll relax. Nope, that was nice for a half a second, and then I went on with my meditation without thinking about it for another 10 minutes, and then I tried again, and so that kind of ease with it all usually works well.
That is so helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So Amparo.
Actually, this is Nate. I'm on my mom's Zoom accidentally. I thought it was mine.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
I've been meditating with you almost, I think, 1 year and 3 months, right? I caught COVID. Just to tell you a little, I'm not going to go on and on. I caught COVID. I was having long COVID symptoms, and I was told by a community that had autoimmune disorder to meditate. And I can tell you today, right now, I'm much more active and I'm much more happier since meditation. And I really am. But I get a lot of pressure in my scalp here, here, a lot of pressure, ears, everything, a lot of pressure. And I just remember you saying things in class, breathe into the chaos, right? And that's actually helped me a lot expand and relax.
Great. That's very good. That sounds excellent. One of the primary kind of aspects of mindfulness, as I already said now, is to, in a certain way, accept what's happening. Don't fight it. Don't be concerned, but be mindful of it. So you want to bring your mindfulness to that tension and do a guided tour of your attention. Like high tension, we're friends, we've been around for a while, and then just kind of scan around, feel where it's happening in your body. And then if you can breathe with it or breathe through it and expand with it, in it, or with it, like you do, fantastic. So you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's changed my life. I no longer have anxiety. depression. I used to have really bad. I was in the house for like 5 years. I had agoraphobia. It was so bad, and this has allowed me to just sit and confront. I started with Zen meditation, and like how you started,
Uh-huh.
that was really difficult. It's like, and I come from a really religious background. Like I learned my rosary in Latin, and I had an experience in my religion. But then I've had my experiences with meditation, which are all my very personal ones.
Yes. Fantastic. Well, I'm very happy to hear this. And one thing you might consider, since you brought up this topic of the pressure on your head, is that for some people, that happens when when they're meditating, they're trying too hard.
Yeah, I know. I know that. I read up on this.
Okay.
Am I trying too hard? Because I keep going.
And it might
I
not.
laugh.
It might not be. So, but it sounds like you're finding your way very well. And I think my job, listening to you, is to celebrate with you how well you're doing and how well this meditation has worked for you, and how well you're finding your way. And maybe more than just celebrate with you, maybe I can be your cheerleader.
Thank you. I want you to use your strong voice one time, though.
To you? Okay. Meditate.
Have a good morning, man. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you. So, Steve.
Yes, I'm amazed that I have this opportunity to speak to you, Gil. You've been one of my guides for the last few years. Actually, I started listening to you on audio Dharma many years ago, so it's really an honor. And I want to, of course, express my gratitude right now. But I do have a Dharma question. It's more of a psychological or Dharma question. It's about unpleasant emotions and the resistance to them. I think through you and other teachers, I've recognized that there's this distinction between the two of them, and I've been working with the resistance, and I really think I've made some headway on that. And I think there's tightness in my chest, and my worry about what I'm feeling I've been able to, actually the tightness in my chest is really vanished through just kind of feeling into it. But there's some unpleasant emotions that are still there that have been repressed for good reasons, because they're unpleasant, and especially fear. Fear is, I've tried to just feel into that, but it doesn't work. It seems like it overwhelms me. And I know you have a great way of addressing my personal concerns on your morning talks. And so I've heard you say it before, but if it's overwhelming, what can you really do about fear? How do you work with it? Is it maybe I should use metta or some other hack or something? Because I just can't dive into the fear. It overwhelms me.
Great. Well, thank you. This is very important what you're bringing up, and you're not alone with this kind of concern. And so I appreciate the chance to answer this, not just for you, but for others as well. It's very personal. Ideally, the answer that the teacher gives is very personal and really knows a person well, because fear can be debilitating, and fear can be connected to extremely deep things inside. That maybe it's better to work with a really good therapist with this. So we have to take a little bit with a grain of salt what I'm about to say, and consider whether it suits you. But to hear,
I'll tell you, I do have a therapist. I'm not sure if it's a really good therapist, but I'm not asking for. I do just see the distinction between the two job descriptions that but I'm asking you from a Dharma perspective.
Yes. So I would find circumstances where you feel pretty safe. Maybe for you it's safest, if you have your therapist later in the day, for example. Or find a circumstance where where you don't have to do anything for that day, and you feel like you can kind of, just be yourself for a while, or recover, or make sure, get, I don't know what, anything at all, make yourself safe. Even if it means getting an extra lock for your door or something. Whatever it makes your heart, your mind feel like, okay, now it's safe. Or have a friend nearby. And then meditate with the fear and let yourself be overwhelmed.
Tried that.
And let it take its course. But the way to do this, to let it be overwhelming, is have a good meditation posture that you do not compromise. So, for example, you wouldn't collapse, or tense up and start pulling away, or, you would just, hopefully it's a nice, comfortable enough posture, but you stayed in the posture, and then whatever overwhelm you're having and fear you're having, compost it in the body. Let the body hold it. Let the body process it. Just bring it back and feel how it is in the body. So compost in the body is the same thing as feeling it in the body. And just come back, feel in the body. As opposed to the stories and there's some of the mental reactivity that might be. And if you can relax the body around the fear, great. So really to see it through. Let it overwhelm you with those conditions I just provided. And see what happens on the other side of the overwhelm.
Is there? I know this is a dangerous question for you mentioned my therapist should be helping me as well, but is it? You're implying that there's good things on the other side. Right?
Yeah.
You give me a faith of that.
Yes, I'm implying there's good things on the other side, and it's possible to live without fear and anxiety. And some people will do this on retreats, meditation retreats, because there it's very safe, and you have the whole day to kind of let it unwind or to process, and you don't have to go to work, you don't have to talk to people, and so some people find that's a good place, and whether it's the right place for you, it might be something you want to ask your therapist and say, I'm thinking about doing a retreat or something, or day-long retreat. You can do the one on Zoom we're going to have soon, but ask your therapist, because I don't know you. I don't know how intense it is, and what can happen with fear is there can be panic attacks. It could rather than finding more mindfulness, it triggers more fear, and then it kind of spirals out. And so if you notice that it's really spiraling out, you have to be cautious. Maybe it's not healthy for you. But but overwhelm and spiraling out are two different things. So you have to be able to be discerning about what's happening. But in principle, that's what I recommend you, that you just trust it. Trust the process and open to it. Let it be overwhelming, and breathe and stay. And if you stayed for a long time, 40 minutes, 45 minutes with it, then maybe get up and do some walking meditation or walk around the block and then come back and continue.
Thank you, Gil. I know that I don't want to. I think just a short question. The routine of your retreats. I'm sure other people would be interested in hearing the general routine, because I've been to a Zen retreat and I kind of know the traditional Zen session format. Is that an appropriate question to answer right now, or I could ask a non-teacher?
Yeah, it's fine. I think we have the schedule for our retreats on our website. But the difference between Zen and our retreats, insight retreats, is that in Zen the schedule is required. Everyone has to show up, and in our retreats the schedule is a recommendation. And so, if you need to take a break, it's easy to take a break. And so, but we have a lot of sitting through the day, sitting and walking meditation. In Zen, the walking meditation is usually 10 minutes. For us, it's 30 to 45 minutes. So there's a bigger kind of break between sits in that way. Great. So Then we have Susan.
Hey, folks. Hi, David. Sort of along the same lines. I don't have a teacher. I don't have, never done refuge or any of that. So, but I do read and I study on my own, and I've been coming to these sessions for quite a while. But one of the things that I'm sort of trying to figure out is we are told, and neuroscience tells us, that the things that we focus on become stronger and stronger and stronger, like ruts in your mind, whether they're emotions or whether they're thought stories or whether they're whatever. And in the Buddhist, interpretation, that would be the more more thoughts or attitudes you have in your mind, that's what's going to become a stronger inclination for your mind and for your attitudes. And then eventually, I guess, becomes part of your character, or that's what's built your character. So we are also instructed to, when something comes up that's not particularly helpful, wise, it's that to sort of sit with it and feel it even more and more and more. And I'm wondering, where's that line between, okay, it's, what is it, desensitization therapy, letting the spiders crawl all over you until you're no longer afraid of spiders, and when is it indulging the fear or the emotion thought even more?
Yes, this is a very important question. Thank you. And it's very important that we can start discerning the difference between participating in difficult states, activities of the mind that reinforces them, for example, versus being mindful of them, which is a different track in the mind. It's a different activity of the mind that we're trying to reinforce and strengthen. We're not trying to strengthen our neurosis. And so but some people can't, it's difficult to see the difference between the two. The way that we get involved and participate in our kind of negative mind states is almost unconscious. And so we bring mindfulness to it, and the mindfulness itself is just more of the same as before. And we are then reinforcing it. And so it's not so healthy. So one of the instructions I offered this last week or two was the idea that when you're mindful of something, like especially it was for thinking mind, is do it for only 3 breaths. Because that might be enough to kind of interrupt the usual way in which we're feeding the thinking mind, but we're then not likely to keep somehow unconsciously feeding it, and then we come back to the breathing. And then it might be a few breaths later you go back and notice thinking again, but not just stay on it all the time. And that principle might also be true for some emotions, that if we stay with some emotions too long, like with fear, it might be that with fear, it's almost automatic that some fear is carried in the mindfulness itself, which then maybe subtly, or subtly, not so subtly, is reinforcing the fear. But if we do 3 breaths with fear, and then return to just breathing for a while, and then relax, and then 3 breaths with fear, that might support this shifting of what's being developed in the mind. And we are in Buddhism trying to develop positive states of mind by the repetition, by feeding them. And some of the positive states of mind are mindfulness, joy, tranquility, concentration, or this kind of steadiness of mind, equanimity, There's faith that we want to strengthen. The kind of trust or confidence we want to strengthen. So there are kind of good states of mind that we want to recognize and allow for. And but what happens with the best states of mind that comes with meditation? They're there because of the absence of other hindrances. They're not there because we're participating in them. And so then we're allowing for them, we're kind of getting out of the way. We're more like making room for them so they can grow and spread rather than engineering them or trying to push them to be better or something. So when the self is involved, with when too much self-concern is involved with the mindfulness, then chances are we're feeding the wrong thing.
Well, you're bringing up the other flip side of it for me in terms of the kind of difficult, easy way that you can subtly shift things. So the idea of the positive states of mind, at what point the idea that maybe shifting in that way is also a way of suppressing and denying. Okay, I'm going to suppress and deny and I can allow certain things to bubble up, but I have to push something else. See, I'm not very experienced at this, so this is what I see. I worry, like, okay, is this really something that's naturally, sort of drifting off because I've let it go and something positive's coming up, or really is that a subconscious repression, and then, grasping after something that has a nice sound to it, equanimity or whatever.
Sure.
And sort of labeling it so I feel, okay, that's okay. But in fact, it's really disengagement from something I don't want to feel.
Great.
And these are all things happening kind of, at the margins of subconscious.
Yes, great. So the fact that you're concerned with this, thinking about this, is a good sign. This is healthy and appropriate to have this kind of self-reflection, these kinds of questions. So I appreciate that quite a bit. But the fact that you have it, I would like to suggest to you that you have a discerning mind. You don't have to be actively using it as much as you're using. That it's there to support you. That what you need to do is to trust the practice, and that everything will be revealed over time. So if you're repressing things, it's not a crime to repress things. So I wouldn't, treat it as a crime. It's like you're not a bad Buddhist because you're repressing things. There might be good reasons to repress. It might be better than the alternative for some people. So, but if you're mindful, and learning to be mindful of the body, and with time you get to be mindful of your reactivity, the tensions in your body, and sooner or later you'll start noticing you're repressing. You'll see it and feel it, and then the practice becomes self-correcting. And don't be ahead of yourself. Don't guess and worry that it might be happening. If you want, just assume it is happening. It's okay. And just keep doing the practice until it becomes obvious in your experience. Oh yeah, there it is. I see it. I'm doing it again. You don't have to guess whether you're doing it or not. You know you're doing it. And you feel the tension and you feel the downside of it. And then you're ready to do a course correction. But don't do a course correction until the mindfulness has revealed its full glory. Trust the practice. Just do the practice with what's obvious. Do the practice with what's going on. And you have the discernment. I'm repeating myself. You have the discernment to notice these things. So you can now relax. Just trust the process of the practice. Just be mindful of how it is. Don't second guess. Don't worry about what's not obvious. And the practice is self-correcting over time.
Thanks.
Ash.
Thank you, Gil. I feel in some ways that question might have answered that answer might have answered my question. I had a clear question at the beginning, and now I'm having a little trouble framing it. I've been meditating with you for 20 years now. It's 2004 when I started listening to you, and have feel like a lot of progress, equanimity, and sense of openness, or noticing when I'm contracted and when I can orient towards an opening towards what's coming. So this is on the cushion as well as in livelihood and in interactions. And I guess without just the keep going and begin again, what's next?
What's next for you, Ash? Well, I have a clear sense of what's next for you, but I don't know if your life circumstance allows for this yet. So it might be some years away, but you're ready to sit some long retreats, and minimum a month. It could be the 2 month at Spirit Rock. It could be longer at IMS. That's you're ready for a long, in residential long retreats.
Yeah, I'm oriented towards that, opening that space. So
Yeah. So that's I feel like that's what's next for you. I mean, in terms of, I don't know, you're practicing great as you are, so it's not like you're missing out. But in terms of my wish for you, that's in addition to what you're already doing, would be a long retreat.
Okay.
Thank you. And then, is it Jean? Or Jeannie?
It's Jean or Jeannie, both work. Long time listener, first time caller. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. And I might get a little choked up because, like Nate, the having a practice and having access to insight has absolutely transformed my life in ways that I never imagined to be possible. And so thank you from all the depths of my heart for that. And thank you to everyone who sits, because, we perfect in some way by practicing together. And I think my question is related to that, because in this world where there is so much suffering and so much injustice, that it can sometimes feel deeply unfair to even sit. And I know rationally, the reasons to do it, both from like literature and then experience, but sometimes just balancing that feeling that by practicing I'm being unfair. So any thoughts or guidance that you can offer would be most appreciated.
I'm very touched and appreciative of you saying all of this and with the questions, concern that you have. And I probably won't be able to do a good answer for you personally. I'll do my best. But well, I appreciate first how meaningful the practice has been for you. And so one possibility is that you're ready for something different now. And of course, I hope you keep practicing, some every time. But maybe it's time for you to do something that responds to the suffering of the world more actively or more fully than what you do now. I don't know what you do now, but maybe it's time for you to actually bring the practice to something. And whether it means that that you go to the Gaza or the Ukraine and try to help the children there who are suffering so much, or whether you form a neighborhood support group for people who are suffering in your neighborhood. I don't know what it would be. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You're not going to end some of the wars in the world, but do something. And as you do it, and probably you should start with something small, easy to do, but do something. And as you do it, check in with yourself. keep checking in, be honest about how it's going. And you might then, at some point, because you know what you're capable of, how much suffering you're capable of having, at some point you'll say, okay, now I know I need this practice. Now I really need it. Yes, I read all the stories why you should be practicing and how it helps other people, but now it's true. If I don't practice now, I'm going to make a mess of what I'm trying to do for the world. And that might be the phase you're in. And you do that for a while, and then you might be ready for, like with Ash, go off with Ash to a long retreat. Is that okay as an answer for now?
Yes, that's very helpful as an answer for now, and it brought additional clarity as well about what is or is not ready.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So maybe we'll do two more, and I see two hands up. So it's is it Midge?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gil and Sangha. My question has to do with being a senior and an advanced senior and coming to Buddhism as a practice and finding that many things that I thought were resolved in my life through a long time spiritual practice and also many years of therapy have opened up, and I hear that it takes time for these things to take place, and I'm beginning at the end. So how does a senior come into active Buddhist practice?
Okay. Well, active Buddhist practice. Where do you live?
In San Jose.
Oh, San Jose. So IMC does have a senior Sangha, a group that meets most...
I'm doing senior Sangha. I'm doing the Eightfold Path.
Okay, so you're doing lots of...
I've been attending your meditation practice for over a year.
So, so I don't really know you. Maybe we've had one other conversation like this before. I somehow recognize you. So I apologize if I don't remember if we met.
No.
So it's a little bit hard in this context to have a really deep meeting with you about this and to be able to offer you something. If I take a risk with you and with everyone here, if that'll be okay?
That's fine.
So you've had a long spiritual practice, and so maybe you can brush me off if I say something which is not helpful. So it's a thought experiment. Or it's based on this premise. You might already have a very strong foundation. And the question is, can you call on your existing foundation as a foundation with which to practice with the difficult things which are arising now?
I do find that helpful.
And can you do so in such a way that the issues you have do not get resolved? Is there something more important for you that's here, that can be present, that for you that doesn't depend on these issues being resolved?
My desire for coming to Buddhism was to face dying consciously.
Yes. So that was where I was going to go with you. Mm-hmm. So imagine that you're on your deathbed. And, somehow you understand you have about 5 minutes left to be alive. Mm-hmm. That's the circumstance. And you're comfortable, you're dying the best way you could imagine, but you have 5 minutes left. And then you remember, I think I overpaid my credit card. I better do something about this and call my credit card company and try to fix this. And is that the best way to spend your last 5 minutes alive?
No, not for me.
So what would be better?
to be present to what's happening right with me at that moment.
And why is that better than dealing with money? Is important, right? It was you earned it, and you should not lose it. And so, why being present at that moment is more important?
That the money is of no use to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
It has no meaning at that particular time. It's something that's over and done with.
Okay. Okay. So that's nice. I'm happy to hear this. And now, what about? And then your last 5 minutes, and some fear that you have that you still carry with you comes up, and there's that old friend, your fear. So, well, that's probably a good thing to do for the last 5 minutes, is to you can really get into it and be afraid, and you know, wouldn't that be a good use of your time?
No. I'll tell you, my concern now is my children, letting go of that, letting go of them, letting go of the things that were guiding cares and concerns in my life, and joys and opportunities in my life, and being present, to what's happening with me.
Right. So you have 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And your kids, your family is around you, and they value you so much. You've been kind of a teacher, a model for them, and they're looking to see how you're going to die. Do you think clinging to your kids is the final message you want to give?
No?
What is the final message you want to give?
Again, just being in that moment, and doing taking the journey of my life in a peaceful, calm, accepting way.
Fantastic. So Midge, so I apologize if some of the things I say were a little bit coarse or something, but you have a foundation. You know something already. You know something very profound about the value of being present here in a peaceful way. It's in you already. Can you call on it more now? Why wait?
I feel that that's the practice, and what comes up are things that I thought were resolved. For instance, I've worked in counseling with people in death and dying.
Yeah.
And being at this side of it is different in a way.
So I agree with that. So now we come back to what I said at the beginning. Do you have the ability to be honest about what's coming up for you, to meet it with mindfulness and intelligence, and maybe even try to find a way through it in a way, but you don't need to have it resolved. You can breathe and be present just fine with the issues coming up, because you only have 5 minutes left. Maybe. You never know. I'm trying to offer you a different perspective on this. Is this working?
It is.
You think you're up for the challenge?
Yes, I am.
And I would love to talk to you about it someday, or hear how it's going. And if you're in San Jose, maybe I'll come up one Sunday morning when I'm here, and you can say hello.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Midge. So then the last one is Charlie.
Hi, Gail. Hello from near Boulder, Colorado. And now that we all have learned how to die, I don't know what else there is to say.
Well,
thank you for that. And
well, if you've learned how to die, then there is something important to do, and that is to live your life fully. Live your life compassionately.
that sounds like it's in line with what I'm trying to do. And I just wanted to express a lot of appreciation to you for the support I've received from joining you for these guided meditations these past 6 weeks, and a little bit before that, I'm finding a lot of there's always been a tension in my mind about in meditation between I guess it's a kind of spiritual bypass, escapism, going away from life through silence, through being alone, versus connection, compassion, as you're saying, the point of life, right? And so it sounds like, you talk about both of those things. You talk about creating space and distance from aspects of mind. And part of me says, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be with everything. I don't want to create space and distance. I want to be connected to myself, every part of myself, every part of the world. I don't want to go away. I don't want to escape. I don't want to bypass. And then I'll just think and think and think, and kind of time goes by, and there's I don't know. I'm not sure what my question is in there. There's always just been this tension between being connected, allowing everything, versus creating space, distance, seeing things. Does that sound like a question?
Yeah, I understand your question, but it turns out both are possible. Actually, if you do both, they both become better for each other. So, for example, do you have this concern about being disconnected from people and separating yourself and locking yourself out of people's lives when you go take a shower and close the door?
I was just imagining inviting everyone to come with me.
What?
Yes, no, exactly. No, I want to be alone for that one.
And because in principle what we're doing there is getting clean, and when we're clean, then people want to connect to us. If you never took a shower, people would probably be, pulling away. But you go back clean and refreshed, and you're so much better for making that connection to people. That rhythm of pulling away and locking the door in the bathroom to shower and coming out clean is a natural rhythm. Meditation the same way. We learn to kind of cleanse ourselves by being apart in meditation, closing our eyes, so we come back better, cleaner, fuller. And what we're looking for in meditation is not to be apart from people. We're looking to avoid being entangled with people. And we come together like this, where it's uncomplicated, it's clean, it's full, it's caring, not caught up in people, with each other. And ultimately, we have better connections when there's a separation that comes together like this, where each person is met in their own wholeness, which a lot of people don't know how to do. But to discover your own wholeness, your own fullness, your own freedom in meditation, then allows so much more to happen when you come together. It's actually, the relationships become richer. So so you can do both. And don't set up one against the other. They both support each other, like showering. And then I would encourage you, so I love it that you're this way, that you have the sensibility, you're concerned, that you have a practice, that you want to be in the world and connected, maybe in a compassionate way. I think you probably have good things to do in the world, for the world. And I would encourage you to be courageous.
Thank you. I will do my best.
Great.
And hope to join you for a retreat at IMC soon.
Great. I'd love to have you come. That'd be very nice. And as long as you understand that it is a kind of, it's wonderful at these retreats because it's definitely a way of pulling away from your normal life. But we have 40 people in community that's really special. So you're doing it in a different context. So yes, you're pulling away from your normal life, but it's not from life itself. It's actually, life is fuller on retreat for many people. It's a way of stepping into life. And in the way that you want to really be connected to life, on the retreat there's a particular way we step into life in a much more fuller way than we ever can do in some of our daily lives. Okay, great. Nice to talk to you. So let me put it back on gallery view. So thank you everyone for being part of this, and I had wanted to hope to do a breakout group for you so that you could meet each other, but it seemed like it was nice to continue with the questions. So I appreciated the questions. I appreciated all of you being here and all this, and it's my intention to do these community meetings more often, and certainly I'm inspired after today to do it more often. My schedule is such that it's a little hard, but I will look for the next opportunity. So thank you all, and be well, and I'll see many of you, I hope, on Monday, or see you. You see me more. We'll be together. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gil. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Sangha.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. That was wonderful.
Nice to see you, Jack.
Thank you, Gil. Have a good day, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Sangha and Gil.
Nice to see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gil, for doing this.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for their wonderful questions. Right. Thank you so much for the teachings today. They were special.
Very special. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.